went out with my boss instead of him, and he took it to heart and decided to divorce me. It's just so crazy how you think you're making one harmless decision, and then suddenly, your entire life falls apart. I genuinely don't know what to do anymore. I thought I was doing something small, something harmless, just to make my husband a little jealous. And now my marriage is on the brink of collapse. My name is Sophie. I'm 28 years old. My husband, my soon-to-be ex-husband, is Leo. He's also 28. We were married for 4 years. 4 good years, I thought. Things between us have always been stable, happy, even. But there's always been this thing about Leo. He's calm, too calm, I'd say. No matter what happens, he never gets riled up. He never gets jealous. At first, I thought it was amazing. Isn't it every woman's dream? To have a partner who is so secure in the relationship that he never doubts you? Leo trusted me. Completely. It's a foundation most people would kill for, right? And for the longest time, I convinced myself it was perfect. No fights over petty jealousy. No accusations. No insecurity. Just solid trust. But over time, I realized something was missing. Something subtle, but important. I wanted to feel like he was crazy about me, like he couldn't imagine life without me. Instead, Leo's unshakable calm started to feel indifferent. I know that sounds dramatic, but hear me out. It wasn't that he didn't love me. He was a great husband in every other way. He supported my career as a marketing manager, always made time for date nights, and remembered the little things about me that showed he cared. He knew I hated cilantro. He knew my favorite author was an obscure poet from the 19th century. He knew exactly how I liked my coffee in the morning. He was a restorer of antique clocks, a horologist. His entire life was about patience, about taking things that were broken and beautiful, and with steady hands and a quiet focus, making them whole again. He loved the gentle tick-tock, the predictable chime, and I think he loved me in the same way. Dependable, comfortable, and maybe replaceable if I ever wore out. Emotionally, I started to feel like I could fade into the background, and he wouldn't even blink. If I went out with my girlfriends to the bars in Nihav and came back late, smelling of cocktails and city air, all I'd get was a casual, have a good time, stay safe, and a kiss on the forehead when I got home. If I told him someone hit on me, he'd just chuckle. A low, easy sound. Well, they have good taste, he'd say, and go back to cleaning a tiny gear with a soft cloth. Like it was no big deal. Like it wouldn't even matter to him if someone else found me attractive. Like it didn't faze him at all. I told myself I was overthinking it, that his laid-back personality was a good thing and I was being ungrateful. But the feeling didn't go away. I wanted him to want to protect me, to be a little territorial, not in a controlling or toxic way. I would never want that, but just enough. Enough to show me that he saw me as his person. Instead, everything just rolled off him. It started to eat away at me. This idea that maybe I wasn't as important to him as I thought. I talked to him about it. I did. One evening, I sat him down on our soft gray couch, the city lights of Copenhagen twinkling outside our window. I told him how I was feeling. Leo listened, as he always does, calmly, without interrupting. He didn't brush me off or make me feel silly. He told me he understood where I was coming from, but then he explained something about himself. He said he had always believed that if someone wanted to stay, they would stay. That being overly jealous or obsessive wouldn't make a difference. Because if someone wanted to leave, or worse, cheat, then they would do it regardless. It made sense. It was so logical. So, Leo, he wasn't trying to make me feel unimportant. This was just how he viewed relationships. He believed in trust and autonomy. No controlling, no obsessing, no holding on too tightly. To him, it was the healthiest way to love someone. He reassured me that he loved me, and that he didn't need to prove it through jealousy. I told myself I should be satisfied with that. It was the mature, reasonable thing to do. But still, it kept nagging at me. That little voice in my head that whispered, "He doesn't care enough." It wasn't true, of course. Feelings aren't always logical. I tried to push it down, but I couldn't let it go. And that's when I started making my mistakes. The stupid, impulsive decisions that snowballed into the mess I'm in now. It was just a small idea at first. Nothing serious. Just a little nudge, a little game. Just to see if I could spark some kind of reaction in him. It started with harmless flirting. Or what I told myself was harmless. When we were out with friends, I'd smile a little too brightly at someone else's jokes, laugh a little too loudly, a touch on the arm here, a lingering glance there. I even flirted with some of his friends, casually. Nothing I thought would cross a line. I kept telling myself it was all in good fun, but deep down, I wasn't doing it for fun. I was doing it to provoke Leo, to see if he would react. At first, he just seemed puzzled. He'd give me this confused look, like he wasn't sure what I was doing. But then he'd just brush it off. No gilase, no anger, just Leo, being his usual calm, laid-back self. And for some reason, that enraged me. I know how ridiculous it sounds, but his lack of reaction felt like a rejection. It made me feel unimportant, like I didn't matter enough for him to care. So instead of stepping back and questioning my own behavior, I doubled down. I became more obvious, more brazen, thinking that maybe if I pushed hard enough, I'd finally break through that wall of composure. That's when things with my boss had been getting a little too close for comfort. His name is Marcus. He was everything Leo wasn't. Sharp suits, a quick, charming smile, and a way of looking at you that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. He was the head of our branding agency, a man who built a career on knowing what people wanted to see, and how to make them want it. Marcus had been flirting with me pretty openly, and I was actively encouraging it, though I wouldn't admit it to myself at the time. The truth was, I didn't feel seen by Leo anymore. I wanted him to notice me, to care, to get jealous, to show some kind of emotion. At some point, Leo sat me down. Again. He told me that he didn't like how I'd been acting lately, that the flirting and attention-seeking were out of character for me and disrespectful to him. He wasn't angry. His voice was level. He just looked disappointed. And instead of feeling ashamed or apologetic, I lashed out. I told him the truth, or at least the version of the truth I had convinced myself of. "I want to see you jealous," I yelled, my voice cracking. "I want to feel like I matter enough for you to get angry or upset. I'm sick of feeling like you don't care." Leo didn't get angry. Even then, he just sighed. A deep, weary sigh. He told me that what I was doing wasn't fair, to him or to our relationship. He said I was trying to force him to be someone he wasn't. And worse, I was doing it in a way that was damaging our marriage. Hearing him say that should have been my wake-up call. But instead of taking his words to heart, I felt defensive, hurt. I told myself that he just didn't understand, that if he really loved me, he would want to show me in the way I needed. His calm, rational response only made me angrier. I wanted fire and passion, not reason and logic. So I became more brazen, more determined to get a reaction. I started staying out later, dressing up more provocatively, and making sure he knew about the attention I was getting. From Marcus, I'd come home and casually mention how Marcus had complimented my presentation, but also my dress, how he'd insisted on buying me a coffee after a meeting. Leo noticed, of course. He wasn't blind, but instead of reacting the way I wanted, he seemed to double down on his calm demeanor. It was almost like he had decided that if I was going to act out, he wasn't going to give me the satisfaction of a reaction. No matter what I did, no matter how far I pushed, he remained the same. Calm, collected, Leo, and I started to feel desperate. I was throwing everything I had at him, and it was like shouting into a void. Looking back now, I can see how toxic and destructive my behavior was. But in the moment, all I could focus on was how much I needed him to give me something. Anything. To prove he cared. I guess at some point, he decided that if I was determined to break us, he wasn't going to stop me. I remember the day it all shattered. It was a Tuesday. The air in our apartment had been thick with unspoken things for weeks. Leo was trying. I see that now. He was trying to bridge the gap I had created. He came home from his workshop, smelling faintly of wood polish and old metal. "Hey," he said, his voice gentle. "I was thinking, what if we went out to dinner on Friday? Just us. To that little place by the canals, the one you love." He was trying to fix things. He saw the distance between us, and he wanted to do something about it, even if it was just a simple dinner. But I refused him. That same afternoon, Marcus had invited me out for dinner too. He said it was to celebrate the completion of a big project. And in the moment, I agreed. I mean, it sounded innocent enough, right? But deep down, I knew it wasn't really about celebrating work. It was about me getting attention. And from the one person who had been making me feel good about myself lately, Marcus had specifically invited me, and me alone. No other coworkers. Just me. That fact nagged at me, but I ignored it. I didn't want to overthink it. I should have asked Leo to come with me, but I didn't. Instead, I lied. When I got home, I told Leo about Marcus's dinner invitation. "Oh, that sounds nice," Leo said. Looking up from the clock he was carefully reassembling on our dining table. "Is the whole team going?" "Yeah," I lied. The word slipped out so easily it scared me. "The whole team. Should I come along?" he asked. I just shrugged it off like it was no big deal. "You don't have to," I said. "It's just a casual work thing. You'd be bored." He kissed me on the cheek and told me to have a good time, but I could tell he was a little unsure, a little hesitant, and that was when the anger started to build in me again. I wanted him to push back. I wanted him to get upset, to insist that he'd come with me. But no, he just accepted it. And that calmness, that lack of reaction, it pissed me off more than I cared to admit. Was I not worth his time? Was I just that unimportant? At dinner, Marcus was his usual charming self, overly complimentary, flattering, and yes, a little too touchy-feely. He kicked it up a notch that night. He praised my work like never before, making a show of how lucky Leo must be to have me. The comments got borderline inappropriate at times. But instead of shutting it down like I should have, I leaned into it. I laughed a little too hard at his jokes, let him refill my wine glass a little too much, and allowed the attention to flood over me and make me feel important again. When dinner ended, I could have easily called it a night. But instead, I stayed for just one more drink. Marcus offered to drive me home, and I didn't need to think about it for long. I had already made up my mind that I wasn't doing anything wrong. When I walked through the door that night, a little after midnight, Leo was sitting on the couch, watching a movie. He looked up at me, a small, calm smile on his face as he asked how the dinner had gone. I could barely meet his eyes. I felt sick to my stomach. The guilt hit me harder than it ever had before. And yet, I dismissed it. I gave him a vague answer about how it was just work, nothing major, and went straight to bed. The next morning, I tried to pretend like nothing had happened, but I couldn't hide the tension. Leo noticed. He always did. But he didn't say anything. Not at first. A few days passed, and I made the mistake of mentioning Marcus again and how it had been just us that had gone to dinner. I said it offhandedly, like it was no big deal. Like it didn't mean anything at all. I didn't realize how much it bothered Leo until later that night, when he finally brought it up. He asked me, point blank, "Did you go out with Marcus alone, Sophie?" I didn't know how to answer. I wanted to tell him the truth, that I hadn't wanted him there, that I had wanted to be with Marcus, to feel wanted. But I didn't. Instead, I lied. Again. "It was just work," I said. "It didn't mean anything." His wife couldn't make it last minute, and the others canceled. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't just the lie that ate at me, though. It was the look in Leo's eyes. He wasn't angry, at least not in the way I'd expected. No, he was disappointed. He didn't argue or press me further. He just nodded, accepted my excuse, and let it go. And I thought that would be the end of it. Or at least, I hoped so. It wasn't the end of it. It was the beginning of the end. Over the next few weeks, things shifted. Leo wasn't cold or hostile, but he wasn't the same either. There was this distance between us. Like an invisible wall had been placed, and I couldn't figure out how to break through it. He stopped asking about my day. Not the big things, but the small things. The questions that had always made me feel cared for. The quiet moments before sleep, when he'd reach out for me, hold me close, and make me feel like everything was right. They stopped. It was like he was physically there, but emotionally miles away. And no matter how hard I tried, nothing seemed to reach him. I began to panic. This wasn't what I wanted. I didn't want things to end like this. I wanted him to fight for me, to show me that he cared. But instead, he was slipping further and further away. I started overcompensating, asking him about his day more than usual, planning little surprises. But none of it worked. The more I tried, the more distant he became. I felt like I was chasing a version of him that no longer existed. One night, after another evening of silence between us, I couldn't take it anymore. I broke down. I begged him to tell me what was wrong, to just say something, anything, to explain why he had pulled away so completely. His response hit me like a punch to the stomach. He looked at me, his face calm, his eyes holding a deep, settled sadness I had never seen before. "I'm done, Sophie." Just 3 words. I was in complete shock. How had things gotten this far without me seeing it coming? After everything that had happened, I couldn't believe that this was the breaking point. Him knowing I'd gone out to dinner with my boss alone. Not the flirting, not the late nights, not the fact that I'd been pushing his boundaries for months, but the simple fact that I had chosen to go out alone with another man, instead of with him. He said he realized then that he wasn't the one for me, and that was it. I tried to plead with him, tried to make him see that it wasn't about that one night. But he wasn't having it. "It isn't just that dinner, Sophie," he said, his voice flat. "It was everything that led to it. You disrespected me. You tried to change me into someone I'm not, someone I can't be." He told me how patient he had been, how he tried to give me space, but he couldn't keep pretending anymore. "I don't feel needed or wanted," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "You made me feel like I was never enough for you, that you were looking for something, someone else. And I just can't keep living that way." I begged him to reconsider. I promised him I would change. I told him I'd stop doing things that made him uncomfortable, stop trying to make him jealous, that I would stop seeking validation from others. I told him I'd do anything to save us, to fix what I had broken. But he didn't respond the way I'd hoped. Instead, he looked at me, almost resigned, and he told me he didn't think I really wanted him, that I wanted someone he wasn't, someone he could never be. The next day, he packed his things and moved out. I've tried everything since then. I've called. I've texted. I've sent messages begging for another chance. I told him I would quit my job if that's what it took, that I would do whatever I had to do to fix things. But nothing has worked. It's been overwhelming, these past few weeks. I never intended for any of this to happen, but here we are. I want to acknowledge that I was wrong. Truly. I had something special, and I threw it all away. I don't need anyone to keep reminding me of that. I know. I get it. I was a big idiot. The whole "you never know what you have until it's gone" thing. Yeah, it hits home. And it's honestly so true. I miss him so much I can't even begin to explain it. I feel completely miserable without him, and it stings so much more knowing that this is all my fault. Every night, all I can do is cry. I've been devouring tubs of ice cream like it's some sort of comfort, all while watching our favorite movies. His favorite movies. I can't believe I'm here, doing this alone. It doesn't help that he's moving forward with the divorce. He's serious about it. He left the very next day, and looking back, I can't help but feel like he had already made up his mind. He'd been planning it. How did I never see it coming? It's clear now. He wants a divorce. He doesn't want to fix things. He doesn't want therapy. He doesn't want couples counseling. He just wants me to sign the damn papers and let him go. It was like a punch to the gut, hearing him say that he's done. He told me he was tired, exhausted from trying, and that I had made him miserable for so long that there was no way he could go back to that. It crushed me when he said that. He said that I wanted something else, and that it was fine. He wanted something else too. He said the kind of peace of mind he was looking for, the kind he deserved, couldn't be found with me. And you know what? He's right. I see that now. I can't fix it. I can't make it better. I've honestly been walking around like a zombie these past few weeks. I can't focus on anything, let alone work. My performance at the office has tanked. And right now, I absolutely despise my boss. I can barely look Marcus in the eye. He tried to make a move on me the other day, after he heard Leo left. I reported him to HR immediately. I'm still waiting to see where that goes. As if things couldn't get worse. I'm stuck in this miserable job with no motivation, no drive, and no sense of purpose anymore. And then there's the whole thing with my family. My friends have all made it clear they think Leo was right to leave me. Even my parents. Yeah, they've all sided with him. They said they knew it was only a matter of time before I pushed him away. And well, now here we are. They told me it wasn't a surprise that it ended like this. If they knew all of that, why didn't they say something sooner? Why didn't they warn me? Why did they wait until it was too late? It feels like they're all piling on now that the damage is done. Even his parents, the ones I tried to reach out to, hoping they could help me talk to him, have completely cut me off. His mom refused to speak to me. She said she had always known I was a nutcase and that she'd warned him. Excuse me? Seriously? I'm completely, utterly alone. In the ashes of a life I set on fire myself. Well, it's been a while, hasn't it? Life has been chaotic, to say the least. First off, The thing you're all probably wondering about. The divorce. Yep, it's finalized. Done. Over. No going back. No magic time machine to undo my mistakes. It was over in less than an hour at the courthouse. My entire life, my marriage, everything I had, all gone in the span of a few minutes. Just like that. I sat there thinking, wow, this is it. It felt surreal, like I was floating outside of myself, watching it happen. There wasn't even any drama about property or alimony. I didn't qualify for spousal support, which stings. But honestly, I don't even want to get into that. It just makes me feel worse. So yeah, that chapter of my life is officially closed. It hurts more than I can even describe. Every time I think about it, it feels like my chest is caving in. I miss him. I miss him so damn much. I regret everything I did to push him away, and all I can do is wish. Wish that I could go back in time. Wish that I could tell him how sorry I am. Wish that I could undo every stupid decision I made. But there's no going back. This is my reality now. On another note, I quit my job. Yep, that dead-end job I hated with every fiber of my being. I finally said screw it and walked out. It probably wasn't the smartest decision. Hell, it was downright stupid, considering I still have bills to pay. But I couldn't take it anymore. I hated everything about that place. The people, the work, the soul-crushing monotony of it all. It made me feel like even more of a zombie than I already am, so I quit. I picked up a part-time job at a little cafe to help with expenses, and I decided to take a chance on starting my own business. I know. It sounds insane, right? Someone like me, who can barely keep her life together, trying to build something from scratch. But I needed something. Anything. To feel like I had some control over my life again. I started a small event planning business, focusing on bespoke, intimate gatherings. It's still small, like barely off the ground small, but it's mine. I work on it every day, and honestly, it's the only thing keeping me from completely falling apart. That said, my living situation is a whole other nightmare. I have a roommate now, in a smaller, cheaper apartment across town. And let me tell you, she's the absolute worst. I cannot stand her. She's dirty, messy, and completely disrespectful. The apartment is always a disaster because of her. And every time I ask her to clean up after herself, she tells me to do it. Me! Like, what the actual hell? I'm not the one leaving dirty dishes in the sink for days, or trash all over the place. It's infuriating. The lease is up soon, and I'm already counting down the days. I can't wait to either kick her out or leave myself. My peace is worth more than clinging to a place that's just a painful reminder of everything I've lost. So that's where I'm at, divorced, miserable, trying to piece my life together, one day at a time. It's not much, but it's something, I guess. I started this whole game because I hated the silence. I hated the calm. I thought passion had to be loud, that love had to be a storm. And now I live in a silence I created. But it's not Leo's calm, peaceful silence. It's just empty. There's no happy ending to share. Not yet, anyway. Just knowing that someone out there listened to me when I felt completely alone, it means more than I can put into words. It's been a long, messy, painful journey, and I appreciate you sticking around to watch the train wreck that is my life. Maybe one day, I'll learn how to rebuild on this scorched earth. Maybe.